From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 21st, 2016. U.S. President Barack Obama met today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the sidelines of the 71st session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. The meeting may very well be the last between the two leaders before the president leaves office. Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications Ben Rhodes told reporters last night that he thought the Obama-Netanyahu meet would be a good opportunity to discuss progress on some issues and areas where there are still differences on others. Rhodes said that during the meeting today, he expected the president to address, quote, continued settlement activity by Israel, the potential viability of a Palestinian state in the face of that settlement activity. Before heading to the UNGA, Netanyahu said that he would take the opportunity to thank the president for the recent 10-year security assistance deal to the State of Israel from the U.S. Netanyahu will address the General Assembly tomorrow, Thursday. The Prime Minister is also expected to meet with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and visit the exhibit of paintings by IDF Lieutenant Hadar Golden, who was killed during Operation Protective Edge and whose body is still being held by Hamas. And President Obama addressed the UNGA yesterday, where he said that both sides needed to make more efforts towards a peaceful solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The president said surely Israelis and Palestinians will be better off if Palestinians reject incitement and recognize the legitimacy of Israel. But Israel, he said, must recognize that it cannot permanently occupy and settle Palestinian land. We all have to do better. Earlier yesterday, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon spoke at the Assembly, where he stressed the need for a two-state solution. In his remarks, Ban seemed to place the blame for the lack of progress on a peaceful solution to the conflict on Israel and called Jewish settlements in the West Bank, quote, obstacles to peace. Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, sharply criticized the UN chief. Danon said instead of slamming the incitement and the terror on the part of Palestinians, instead of bringing Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to the negotiating table, the Secretary General has chosen once again to attack Israel. Jewish leaders here in the U.S. also criticized Ban's comments. World Jewish Congress President Ronald Lauder said they were a, quote, missed opportunity to denounce terrorism and urged the Palestinians to return to the negotiating table. Lauder said holding Israel disproportionately responsible for the deteriorating conditions separating Israelis and Palestinians does not further the cause of peace. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Palestinian Authority President Abbas on Monday on the sidelines of the UNGA. According to the State Department, the two discussed, quote, constructive ideas to advance a two-state solution. State Department spokesman John Kirby said that Kerry stressed the U.S.'s commitment to peace, as well as the U.S.'s concerns about Palestinian violence and Israeli settlement building. He said Kerry and Abbas would, quote, work with key partners to advance the prospects for peace while opposing all efforts that would undermine that goal. An attack at the Israeli embassy in Turkey was thwarted today. Turkish and Israeli officials say that a Turkish man who is reportedly mentally unstable ran towards the embassy in Ankara at noon today local time, armed with a 12-inch knife, and tried to stab a Turkish police officer. The assailant only reached the outer perimeter of the building and was shot in the foot by another Turkish officer before he reached the entrance. The assailant was named as 41-year-old Osman Nuri Kaliskan. The Israeli embassy in Ankara said in a statement that they trust the Turkish forces to control and investigate the incident and thanked the police officers for their professional performance. No member of the embassy staff was harmed in the incident. Jury selection began today in the trial of Akashi Dalal, who is accused of attacks on synagogues in northern New Jersey. Dalal is accused of spray painting anti-Semitic messages outside of 2 Bergen County synagogues in December of 2011 and firebombing another synagogue in the area in January of 2012, which injured a rabbi. Dalal was indicted in 2013 along with fellow suspect Anthony Graziano, who was found guilty back in May and faces life in prison. High-tech leaders and entrepreneurs from Miami, Florida are in Israel this week, part of the American Jewish Committee's Project Interchange. The delegation will meet with tech and innovation leaders in the country to learn from them, network, and collaborate. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, September the 21st. At 7 o'clock, remarks from Washington Post journalist Bret Stephens from the 2015 AJC Women's Leadership Board Spring Luncheon, honoring women of courage. At 8 o'clock, Professor Mordechai Kedar talks about the rise of Islamic terror. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with Israel's former U.S. Ambassador Dani Ayalon, who talks about the obstacles to the two-state solution, the Israeli settlement policy, and the BDS movement, among other current issues. That's on L'Chaim. At 10, Seth Siegel sits with Bret Stephens and Dr. Ari Zaban of Bar Ilan University to talk about Israel's groundbreaking work with water. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 21st, 2016. I'm Teisha Bader.